National 5 Maths Practice Paper E, Paper 1. Now in question 7 we've got to calculate the width of the base. So we're looking to find out this measurement here. So what we can do is we can work out what this measurement here is. We can use Pythagoras, then we can find out this measurement here. And then we double it and that gives us the width of the base. But in order to find this measurement here, we're going to have to do a little bit more calculation first. So I'm actually going to find this measurement here first. So what I can do is, if reading the question, it tells me that the radius is 5 centimetres. Now the radius is from the centre to the edge of the circle. So there's the centre. Now that tells you that's 5. Well, this measurement here from there to there is also 5. Now I'm going to call this measurement here x. Now that's from the top to the centre there. So if I want to find out what x is, x squared, it's 5 squared because that's the hypotenuse of that triangle, take away 4 squared. Now 4 is just half of 8, so that's measurement there is 4. We've got a right angle here and we've got a right angle here. So x squared is 5 squared, take away 4 squared, so it's 25 take 16, that's 9. X is the square root of 9 and that's equal to 3 centimetres. We now know, because it's 7 from top to bottom, if we do 7 subtract 3, you get 4. So that's going to be 4 centimetres right there. We can then call this measurement from here to here, just call it d. Now it's a shorter side again, so d squared is going to be 5 squared, take away 4 squared. You can see that's exactly the same as what we've got here. So that's going to end up being 9. So d is going to be the square root of 9, and that's going to be equal to 3 centimetres. Now we've got to double that because we're looking for the width of the base. We've only got 3, which is halfway. So 2 times 3 equals 6 centimetres. For question number 8, we've got to sketch the graph of y equals sine 2x. Now, nothing changes with the amplitude. It's not been shifted up or down. It's not been shifted left or right. It's just the period that's changed because we've got this 2 here. So 360 divided by 2 equals 180 degrees. So that tells us that the period of the graph is 180. So normally, when you've just got a sine graph y equals sine x, you go from 0 to 360. You'd have a maximum value of 1, minimum of -1, and your graph is going to go up, down, and then like so. That's 180 there, that's 90, that's 270. So that's just your graph of y equals sine x. Now by having this 2 here, the period is going to be 180 instead of 360. So all of these x values are going to be halved. So the maximum is not going to be at 90, it's going to be 45. It's going to cross the x-axis at 90, not 180, and it's going to have a minimum at 135 instead of 270. So if you just redraw that, but just change these. Now, important thing is, we don't just draw the graph between 0 and 180 because it tells us specifically from 0 to 360. So if we want to draw it, I'll just use the space that we've got down the bottom here. So the period is 180, so there's no 180 there. Half of that would be 90, and I've got 45, got 135, and I'm going up in 45, so it'll be 225, 270, 315, and 360. Maximum of 1, minimum of -1. So we know the graph is going to start repeating when it hits 180. So we can have a maximum at 45, cross at 90, minimum at 135, and cross at 180. Now, if you only draw that, that's not you've done the question properly, because as it says, it is between 0 and 360. So we've got to continue this on a bit further. So you can have another maximum crossing there and a minimum there. So up and then back down. And that is the graph of y equals sine 2x between 0 and 360. Now, looking at question 9 now, it asks us to find the value of f of 72 as a surd in its simplest form. So we need to substitute in 72 in place of the x. So the f of 72, so all the x's just get changed into 72s. Now we're going to have to simplify this. Now 72 is 36 times 2, or 8 9s, or 12 6s. 36 and 2 makes sense because 36 is a square number and it's the largest one that goes into 72. So it's 4 times root 36 times root 2 plus root 2. So it's 4 times, now the square root of 36 is 6, times root 2 plus root 2. Well, 4 6s are 24, so it's 24 root 2 plus root 2, and that makes 25 root 2. We've then got to find the value of t, given that the f of t is equal to 3 root 2. So we're going to start with our function again, and we're going to change all the x's into t's. So it's the f of x is going to be f of t, and it's 4 root x, so it's going to be 4 root t plus root 2. Now it tells us that f of t is equal to 3 root 2. So 3 root 2 equals 4 root t plus root 2, and we've got to find out what t is. So we can start by subtracting root 2 from both sides. So if you take the root 2 away from there, if you take a root 2, instead of 3 lots of root 2, you're only going to have 2 lots of root 2. So it's 2 root 2 is equal to 4 root t. We can then divide both sides by 4. So we get root t equals 2 root 2 divided by 4. Now we can simplify this. 2 and 4 are in the 2 times table. So it's just root 2 over 2. Now that's what the square root of t is. We just want t is, not the square root of t. So if we square both sides, square root of t all squared gives us t. Now if you're going to square this side, root 2 squared is just 2. 2 squared is 4, and 2 over 4 is equal to 1/2.